Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So today I just wanted to give my thoughts on primarily Germany and Germans and a little bit of the European, I don't want to say economy, but overall maybe the structure or ongoing identity and whatnot. The thing that held the EU together mainly, in my eyes, seemed to be the German economy and maybe even the German people, right? If you look at the more psyche or amongst the Europeans, it appears that Germans, have a lot of we're all European sort of identity, and that's no coincidence because obviously through history, things that happened in German history that happened in a lot of different countries and cultures that was not good, right? But for some reason we hang the Third Reich sort of Germany on the necks of all young Germans. It's as if they were born German, and since they were young Germans, they were automatically sort of pointed at because you're German, you need to be careful or something like that, right? And it seems that and anywhere else in the world with their children, that wasn't really the case. But for some reason, not a lot of thought was put into, well, what about the German youth, and what did they think growing up, and almost having this thing, over their shoulders that they have to, look behind, or this weight that they have to wear around their necks for some reason, right? I don't know if that's quite entirely, not only fair, but of the right thing to do, right? Maybe in this decade maybe, that the Germans and let's say their identity, their culture, it could go differently. The actions with the U.S. has done, for example, with pipelines, is very interesting, right? Those are my thoughts on, Germany, because it's interesting how they're centrally located in Europe, but they're also internationally, centrally, business-wise, supposed to be located, but now they're not, right? Now they're being forced one way. The U.S. has different plans for Germany, right? And the U.K. is dragged in with the U.S. So now the U.S., the U.K. especially, did things that wanted to make sure Germans, especially Germany, was not going to go off on their own and do their thing, right? Without the EU or anything like that. Now, if you look at the European economy, but the Europe structure, it's weakened. It's not only weakened, it's going to continuously weaken, right? On two fronts. One of them is they're going to be in the middle and they're going to try and survive, but they can't even survive properly because in the EU there's already differences, right? In addition to that, energy prices, which let's say if European companies were to compete with different countries, companies like the US or whatnot, the energy prices will be more expensive, 2 times more, 3 times more to compete. And that's very difficult to do. And if that were to continue on, then maybe the competition, they're not going to be able to compete well with American companies. As we go on further ahead, Europe will have to make a decision, and they'll probably think about crutching on, you're going to have to go with the US and UK on this. This is what I think is going to really upset Europeans, if it hasn't already now, right? I think France, people already, a lot of people don't like Macron. They see France as just totally going along with the US and UK, but I think France is really upset with the US and UK, right? They are very upset. If you look at the what's going on in France, people are making a joke, oh, they're rioting again, it's just another day in France. But really think about the sort of occurrences in France when it comes to riots and protests. It is the country out of all the European countries, if I'm not mistaken, that is continuously at a constant rate upset in that manner, where it is a continuous protest and riots. And so I think that the French, they understand what's going on, in that the US and UK are obviously, they want the Eurozone with the US and UK. But I'm going to be a little bit controversial. A lot of it doesn't make sense for the Eurozone to go with the US and UK. If they were to do what's best for them, they would go with the bigger economies that's going to do well, and it would be U.S. and China. The unfortunate issue that we see with the U.S. is, some of that forward turning, civil conflict issue, and that's up for debate. But aside from that, if you have a country that's so close, not that far away like China, for goods manufacturing and market to sell, but also you have Russian energy, or they used to, like the Germans, and it's all right there. That's a really very good structure. But now that structure is being, obviously purposely ripped away or influenced heavily. Overall, Europe's and Europeans are being forced to, I think, do things that they may not be, they weren't thinking of doing, especially Germany, right? And right now with the German pipeline that was blown up, I've been trying to signal this. People think that the way this is going to go down is that certain countries is, these are all our friends, that's all our bad guys, and that's that. But that's not how I think it'll turn out. All these very volatile things, all these twists and turns in history, all these, very extreme movements across different horizontal lines. I think that we might be surprised. And an example of this is Venezuela, right? And in Venezuela, I think people didn't think that there was going to be a good relationship repair, but there is now, right? You would have thought Brazil is in good standing with the U.S., and I think it is, but Brazil is also in BRICS and for BRICS expansion, and that BRICS expansion is just, it's growing and growing. And Saudi Arabia is just, they're talking about more about the yuan, and they're just trying to fishtail and wiggle, or not, they're jackknifing out of this dollar system. They want out and all of that stuff. And I think that a country like Germany, the German people, if they, I'm certain the propaganda must have been heavy there, right? Since the who knows how long, since the German populace, the sort of propaganda was just nuclear, right? If they start to wake up and realize what the U.S. and UK have done to their pipelines, the energy, the life force, and the reason why some of them can't feed their family, not some of them, but maybe a lot of them can't feed their families and whatnot, and if they figure that out, and that the US and the UK and Western Europe wasn't their friends, this is going to be a big problem, right? And so I think that's an area, vector, that it's a little bit understated, because, if you look at what is happening with the meetings with Macron, the sort of meetings that you would expect sort of go well, it's not actually, it doesn't seem to be going as you think. We actually don't know how the structure of Europe, Germany is going to unfold. But, if Europe is going to have quite a bit of an energy problem because of Russia, if they're going to have a manufacturing and, let's say, a market problem, right? China, they can't build their stuff, but not only that, they can't sell their stuff. And the German people, I think they're going to realize that, yeah, that's what the US and UK wanted to do. They planned it, they thought it, and they understood that that was what was going to happen. They may not see it now because it's just recent, but overall, the next year, 2 years, 3 years, it's going to be stronger realization, and that we're going to have to be ready for impacts that maybe we didn't think about, right? But overall, that's my thoughts on Germany, and just my venting, I suppose, about what's going on in, with the war and the Europe and energy and whatnot. If you're watching this video, you're most likely going to be more aware than the average person. So keep that in mind, because when things start to get real shaky, these average people are, they're going to need a little bit of maybe info or guidance, and you might be that person. So keep that in mind. And other than that, good luck.